Hello, it is the 10th of March. The year is 2022. We've just come out of a very tough patch of life. 2 years of almost inactivity, and yet we're still breathing, which means we're still here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching tonight. This is Ask the CEO, and I'm Apollo Sabiti, your host. This show will be airing every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. It will be coming to the comfort of your living rooms or even on the go, if you will. Now, on this show, we bring you top executives, we bring you proprietors, we bring you people from all faculties of life, people whose stories we believe have a thing or two to pass on to the youths out there, to pass on to this generation, and to build a better Africa. Now, we will take a very short break, and when we return, I'll be introducing our guest tonight. Get that cup of tea and be ready. We're kicking off in just a little while. All right, welcome back from that break. And ladies and gentlemen, he needs no mention. His reputation precedes him. His name is Mr. Amos Wekesa, the man from Luakaka. We're talking Tororo. This man's story is one overwhelming story, one amazing story that I believe is worth your next 1 hour of invested time. He will be telling us his story along the lines of commitment, resilience, going all out to dare, and godliness. Our topic tonight is It Is Possible. Through his story, we'll be picking patches and nuggets as to why we believe this is the best topic for this amazing man whose story begins from Tororo. Be our guest. We have a guest here, Mr. Amos. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Very nice to see you behind the mic and trying to be the... Actually, you're extremely very good at how you introduce the topics, and it's very good to see a young man like this trying to divide. You will end up being taken over by so many media houses, I think.
Thank you so much, Wekesa. What do you say when someone of his caliber says that? Very, very kind words from a very kind man, and I'm telling you, it is a pleasure, I must say. Mr. Amos, before we get very far, we would like to know your story, starting from, like we say these days, where my story began. This is where my story began. I know bits and bits of this story. I know that you've grown through a children's home. I know. So take us, let's roll the tape to Tororo and tell us who are you and where does this Wekesa actually come from?
Thank you so much, Sabit. I've told my story so many times, and sometimes, to be honest, I don't feel like telling my story over and over again.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like everybody has heard my story,
Sure.
but I also at the same time believe that I am just at the level of takeoff. Because the reality is that as a country, we're a poor country.
Yeah.
And so when you find a few one-eyed individuals, we sometimes put them in a place where we feel they've arrived. We haven't arrived. We're very poor people. But we have so much potential as a people. We have so much opportunities around us that we can exploit to actually be able to be better. And I'm saying this so that we all understand that we all have to wake up by 5 a.m. We've got to work hard. We've got to work 18 hours. We've got to push an agenda. Because a failed country is a country that has a summation of failed individuals. If I fail as an individual, I am contributing to the failure of Uganda.
Absolutely.
It's the same. It's even raising children. I always tell people that if you fail to raise a child, you're failing to raise a citizen, a good citizen. If you fail in everything that you try to do, you're going to be part of the numbers that make a nation fail. Successful nations have successful individuals combined. People who pursue dreams, pursue goals that are much bigger than themselves. So for me as an individual, I still believe that I think in many ways God's grace, which is actually abundant to everyone, has played a very key role. But you know, God's grace is abundantly available, like I've said. And if you want to know that God's grace exists, you just look at yourself as a human being. Look at the fact that you actually have brains. So even if someone is lame and is begging on the street, the reality is that has God's grace. And God's grace is seen by the fact that he has the brains. Many have even the hands. And you have the nose, you have the eye, and it was placed in the right place. That's what they call God's grace. And so when you see people successful and you start thinking, oh, it's only by God's grace, you actually have the God's grace as well. But what is different, what makes the difference is discipline. Self-discipline is your own personal gift. It's your own personal gift to yourself. That is self-discipline. And that's what makes the biggest difference in people's lives. Without discipline, you can go nowhere. Now, me as a person, I believe that God, put me in the home I was born for a purpose. So I was born in extreme abject poverty in 1973, and to a family that was involved in smuggling of sugar, tea leaves in the 70s. After Idi Amin had taken over, these things became extremely very scarce, and therefore the families that were around the border strictly survived on smuggling sugar, tea leaves, and the things to survive and sell it to people who would bring eventually to Mbale, to other parts of the country at that time. I started participating in smuggling as early as the age of 8, 7. Yeah, we walked we walked tens of kilometers to try and, as kids, to participate with the family.
That to today's kid would sound like a movie.
Yes, but it's only today's kid in less developed countries. In developed countries, kids start actually participating in real work a lot earlier. So if you go out there and ask people like Bill Gates, all these guys, you'll find that by the age of 10, they're distributing newspapers, cleaning snow in the neighbors' homes. They were working in restaurants in the back, cleaning, washing plates. It is us who think that a child must go to school and school alone. He can't clean even their own rooms, and these things were areas where we go wrong. So anyway, at the age of 10, my family, smugglers are like fishermen. They have this feeling that the lake will always have fish.
It will always be there.
So whatever they make, they eat. And at that time, my family, my parents could drink. And also, we also had a challenge in the home in that our firstborn was from a different father, secondborn from a different father, thirdborn, me, from a different father. And so that brought a lot of stress, and the little resource that we had was over-distributed. That's why for me as a man, I just said, you know what, my dream had been that I have fewer children, but at the same time, why I have few children? I'm able to look after them, be able to give them time, give them quality time, but also keeping resources. I had 1 or 2 children, we ended up on 3, and even after the third, I personally did a vasectomy just to make sure that it's done. It's done. It helps quite a lot. So I think my parents got more children than they could have been able to look after. That was one of our biggest challenges. Our history should be able to help us understand how to deal with the future, because that's part of who we are. And I always tell people that coming from a poor background is not necessarily a very good thing. It's very stressful.
Yes, it is.
It's poverty is very demeaning. I don't believe that people are going to go to heaven because they are poor. No, I don't think so. I think poverty is not a right thing to be involved in. And if you can work hard and get out of it, and if you can work hard, help your country get out of it, and change the narrative is a very important thing. So at the age of 10, of course, my parents were poor. I was taken over by Salvation Army, Tororo Children's Home, where I joined 48 other children who were living in that home at the time. They were all boys. They're now all men as I speak right now. Yeah, the home, we had dormitories, but we also went to different schools. There were times when life was extremely very difficult in the home, and many of the kids actually, could run away, so they kept replacing because of the tough times. But for me as a young man, I remember extremely very well that my mom had warned me, should I go back home in the village, she was taking me straight to go and look after cows in Kenya. And then in the home, so whenever life was hard, I just realized, okay, I just have to hang in there and work hard. But there were certain things that have always helped me as an individual. Is the appreciation of hard work. So even when I was in Salvation Army Children's Home, all of us worked in the evening after school. I went to that school at the age of 10. I went to primary 1. Primary 2 actually didn't do primary 1. Primary 2 at the age of 11 because I was too old for primary 1. The headmaster just said, you go to primary 2. That's what happened. So go to primary school in Toronto. Now, the thing is that we came back about 4 o'clock and we cleaned, did a lot of things.
Yeah, I recently saw a picture on media when you were washing clothes.
Yes, but I did extra work. So I did work everyone else did. Then I was extremely good at cleaning houses. So my guardians could always have me clean their houses again. I liked cooking for the children. I did things that. So I had a good attitude towards work. And good attitude towards work can actually open so many doors for you. And as for me, even when I sometimes misbehaved as a kid, I was forgiven easily because I was very hardworking. I just wrote last week on on my social media pages, said I went and stole a tin of milk. And I realized how bad I was as a thief because I just put it in the open, tried to keep it in a very open area. And my guardian got the tin of milk. And instead of being so angry with me, she sat me down and said, Amos, you're extremely hardworking. You cannot make a good thief. You can't even see where you have put the tin of milk. You could just find it easily. You are very hardworking. You're not one of those people who will die stealing. And as a kid, it actually dawned on me, and I thought, she's right. I just can't be a thief.
It's not something in you, really.
And she just said, one of the things is that you can work hard and you will succeed. And she kept saying that, even when I was not among the top 5 favorite kids in the home. So anyway, did primary school very well. Secondary school, I didn't like school, of course. I was 17 years old in S1. My colleagues were already, I think, in S6 at the time. But I must say, people who were born at that time, there were quite a lot of people that had similar backgrounds. People who were born in the late 60s and early 70s went through, majority went through similar situations.
It's what you would probably call an intersection, something very common for people who were born around that time.
Absolutely, it was a very, very common thing. So anyway, at the age of 17, I was in S1. Performed probably better in S1. S2 started deteriorating. By S6, I had really gone so low. But through school, there are certain things that I did that I see that have helped me. In fact, if you're a parent out there and you're listening, it is very important for your kids to be part of sports. If you follow me, you'll understand the fact that my kids are so involved in sports. And people may only know about motocross. But recently, the teacher was asking my wife, how come anything that your children try to do, they excel? Whether it's football, basketball, running, because they're all fast in running. They all play football. My daughter has been a captain in international school championship for her school
Wow.
for football. She's been a captain for basketball. Recently she was a captain for volleyball. So anything they touch,
They excel at it.
they excel at it. But also
yes.
because I participate with them. And the other thing that any parent who has a chance or an opportunity, make sure your children do scouting. One of the things that helped me up to today, I was a scouts boy. And it just helps me transit through tourism very well. The things that we used to do, camping, making tents, going to the bushes,
And these are
hiking.
These are probably some of the things that someone probably watching someone in school takes for
Granted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the other thing that I did was debates in school. So I have debates give you a chance to be very confident. So a
Yeah.
child, even my own children, I tell them it's important whenever there's a chance for you to debate, please go and debate.
Yeah.
The other thing that I also did is leadership. I was a leader through school, throughout school. And these are things we take for granted. So some of the people that I went to school with keep thinking about this guy failed. How come he writes and people listen and people read? This guy failed. How come he can do business?
Yeah.
And that's why you see some people think, oh, maybe because his wife is of a different skin color. There are over 32 Muzungu women in Uganda, over 32,000.
Yeah.
Let someone marry one and see if they can even build a kiosk. Probably the only thing you can easily get is a change of a hairstyle. But it is important for people to know that us as Ugandans, we have the same abilities like everybody else.
Yeah.
But also we should be very observant of the people we engage with. Recently I'm going to be writing the last article on my observation of different groups of people that are in Uganda. I wrote about the regions and how they work together.
Oh yes, I saw. Very, very hard working.
In fact, those are guys you should look at when you're trying to think about development.
Yeah.
Then also the culture of the Indians and how they work together and how they start from nothing and grow.
And we know how their businesses cross through generations.
Absolutely.
They are able to sustain businesses.
Absolutely. But it's a commitment that a lot of us Ugandans lack, and that's why we think that one day there will be a deal. We have a very serious deal mindset.
Yeah.
That I'll get so much money, that I'll build a nice house.
It will be my turnaround moment.
It will be a turnaround. I have not gotten it.
Yeah.
Even when a guy gets it every day, people eat their seed every day. I tell people that never be forced to eat your seed by people who are eating their harvest. If you find someone eating their harvest, never be under pressure to eat your seed.
Yeah.
So every day there are people who go and drink their seed. There are people who go and buy liabilities using their seed that they would have planted to germinate.
We've had that conversation before. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you just joined us, this is Us the CEO that happens here on Church of Uganda Family TV every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. Our guest tonight is Mr. Amos Wekesa. We've had that discussion before. There's a crop of young people who are not willing to put in the work. But when they see someone who's been at it for the last 3 decades, they want to amass what they have, what the other person has done in 3 decades, they want to have in 5 years. They want to have in 3 years. And that has created a generation of some people whose happiness is tied on material wealth. And I remember I could even quote you saying that if anyone's happiness is tied on material wealth, then you will spend the rest of your life on the run and you will never achieve happiness, because the more you get, the more you want. The more you get, the more you want.
Yes.
So Amos, before we break off for a break, could you speak to that audience of people who, for some reason or another, have this belief that the end justifies the means, and whichever way they take, as long as they're able to get somewhere, then they are willing to do that, even when it's not through the right means?
Well, I think the thing is that a lot of young people have not been mentored by anybody.
Yeah.
And around us, we see people that wake up overnight and have wealth. So you wake up, a neighbor who you know very well leaves home at 9 a.m., comes back at 3 p.m. It's a big mansion. And you can't explain where this mansion is coming from.
Yeah.
So a lot of young people are actually frustrated by those kind of people. So they think everyone does things like that.
Yeah.
I think for me the key thing is that I had a chance, even when life was extremely very hard in the children's home of less advantaged kids.
Yeah.
At least I had a chance to be able to try and go to school.
Yeah.
But 1996, I realized that I had a chance to go to school. I'd wasted it. So May, I remember telling God, if you give me another chance, I am going to work so hard, and my life will never be the same. Because 1996, I was 23 years old. I've just done my A-levels. We did A-levels in, I think at that time in March 1996. They used to do it in every. So I asked God, if you give me another chance, I am going to work so hard and change the narrative. On 22nd May, a Canadian guy who was a friend to the home, came and said, take that guy to study at least a certificate in tourism in Kampala. 1996 September, I am put on the bus and I come to Kampala. Change of life, change of environment. I arrive Kampala and I'm thinking, okay, I'm a young man, I'm 23 years old, my blood is boiling, everything is, serious.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, what are the things I'm going to do to avoid disruptions? I joined the Baptist Student Center, so I was helping in the cleaning of cups, washing of cups. I was involved in making popcorn for the kids, cleaning the environment, serving the kids from young university students at that time.
Yeah.
I actually met so many university guys today that I met through TGIF. Thank God it's a Friday, Baptist Student Center. Now, actually I also met my wife through volunteering, after volunteering in that place. Now, why was that place very important? One, I was keeping the right company. I was meeting guys who are not spending too much. At the same time, there was spiritual nourishment that I had. At the same time, I was offering my time and using my hands freely, so I was able to be mentored. Then the other thing that I also did was sports. So I did badminton, tennis, and any time I got a chance, I went to Sharing Hall. I started playing table tennis, badminton. So I was able to use my energies for things that are very constructive every evening when I finished work. I finished my certificate, which I passed actually very well because I committed myself. And then I started out as looked for my first job, worked 200 offices almost, and got my first job as a cleaner. I worked for a company called Belex. Then I got my second job as an office messenger with Nile Safaris. Both were for Machiga guys. One was called Mchunguzi, and another was called Bakaine James. So those are the guys I worked for. Cleaner one, an office messenger another. Then I became a trainee tour guide. So I was earning $1 a day, and my last job was with Afrique Voyage, earning about 150,000 shillings a month. And that's how I saved my $200 to start Great Lake Safaris in 2001 after my 28th birthday. The reality is that a lot of people must understand that for you to grow, you just don't wake up and start thinking, Nonya sent, I'm looking for money. It's a very bad attitude. The number one thing that you must do is first of all appreciate who you are as a person. Appreciate hard work. They say hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Just hard work is a very important aspect to life. It will open doors for you. But you have to first get something, you have to skill yourself in something. So I was in tourism as an office messenger. I was in tourism as a cleaner. I was in tourism as a tour guide, and I was in tourism as a desk guy. So I had spent time, I was not even thinking about money at that time. I was just honing a skill in tourism for all those years. Because it's the first thing you must look out for, a skill. The second thing you look out for is a network. So you must have ability to be likable. People must be able to deal with you. People must be able to trust you. Because that's in tourism. It's unlike every other business. Why? People pay us, send you money in advance. You do not remove a single shilling until you have given them. When they arrive at the airport, you're not running away from them. When you have told them I'm going to pay for Sheraton, you can't be able to pay for another place. They have to trust that what you're saying you're going to actually deliver. That's what part of the things that has helped us. And trust is one of the biggest challenges in this country. The moment you have a bit of small trust in this country, success, and if you have a bit of trust and hard work, you cannot fail.
And when we come back from the break, he will tell us what happens when you bleach trust. Dear viewer, in case you just joined in here, this is Church of Uganda Family TV, and this is Ask the CEO program, which will be coming to your screens every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. Now we'll take a very short commercial break, and when we return, this fine gentleman, a born of 73, will be telling us more about networks and trust.
Welcome back from 2 grueling years of lockdown. It has not been easy, but God has given us the strength to make it through. We have stood together as one family, and as a family we have shown how strong and resilient we are. Now at Church of Uganda Family TV, we pledge to strengthen your family by giving you the best in family-friendly content that you and your family can enjoy together.
Our focus is to keep you inspired, educated, and entertained with quality programming that encourages the moral, social, and economic development of you and your family.
We also make sure that we keep you informed on current issues and information on topical issues. We bring you up to date with matters that God has planted close to your heart.
It's a new year, a new dawn, it's a new day. Let's stand together. So join us as we grow together as a family.
Do you know that you can now enjoy great enriching shows anywhere through the Family TV app? Here is how to download it. Open Play Store on your phone. Search for the Family TV app. Click Install. After installing it, open it and enjoy enriching content anywhere, everywhere, anytime. Family TV, enriching lives.
With 200 million people aged between 15 and 24, Africa has the youngest population in the world. This can either be an opportunity or a ticking time bomb. At Young and Flourishing Hub, we seek to turn these numbers into an opportunity for Africa to become a global leader. Join us every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. only on Church of Uganda Family TV as we take you through the discussion of different topics that will enable you to become world-class leaders and mentors, grow your finances, and become world-class innovators. Young and Flourishing, transforming Africa.
Welcome back from that short break. This is Ask the CEO, and my name is Apollo Saviti. It's a huge pleasure having you watching us, knowing that you are listening and watching from the other side. Our guest tonight on Ask the CEO is Mr. Amos Wekesa, a man whose story begins from Tororo. We fondly call him a man from Luakaka. It's a pleasure once again to have you on the show, Mr. Amos.
Thank you, Sabit, as
And,
usual.
and before we went for the break, we were talking trust and networks. What happens, I know we know, but for the record, and in caps and bold, what happens in your industry, in the tourism industry, what happens when a thread of trust is broken, when trust is bleached?
The thing is that the world must work and rotate around trust. Successful countries trust each other. They trust that when I put my money on the bank, in the bank, it's actually on the bank.
Yeah.
That I can go somewhere and withdraw it. That I can go with a Visa card and withdraw it. That's purely a trust-based system.
Yeah.
So we countries that are so underdeveloped, if you look at underlying factors, has everything to do with trust, whether in leadership, whether trust in individuals, is something that we bleach comfortably. We are happy to do that as a people. And I have seen in tourism. Tourism is a very nice industry, but also has so many of its own challenges.
Yeah.
So, for example, we had COVID for 2 years,
Yeah.
and there was no business because, one, people cannot travel where
there's
there
no
is
travel,
disease, or people cannot go places where there is war.
Even terminals are closed.
Absolutely, things are closed like that. So, but also at the same time, countries that have less trustable individuals attract less business. A lot of Ugandans don't understand that no country in the world can grow without an external business strategy. We don't have a business strategy. We cannot wake up and say, Sabit, this is actually our strategy to conquer the world in business. It's not there.
Yeah.
If you look at countries like China, they have a system. Triple T. That dream is triple T. Triple T is trade, trade, trade. So wherever Chinese ambassador goes, just thinking about trade that will help China. Wherever the ambassador goes, that's what they're thinking about. America is a triple D. Yeah, it's development, defense, and diplomacy. That is what America thinks about. But development comes. I was just hosting the American ambassador in Soroti recently.
At the plant?
Pella, yeah.
Naturally?
But she was going around not trying to look for people to help.
Yeah.
Okay, not necessarily.
Yeah.
But, which was really good, but they're seeing the opportunities around the country.
Yeah.
That's what an ambassador does.
Yeah.
That's making sure that, okay, they have things now, when you ask her, what would be the opportunity for Americans in Uganda, she will be able to tell you all these things. I remember the former South African ambassador. A man could tell you every opportunity available for a South African in Karamoja. He would tell you every opportunity that is good for a South African in Arua. That's how they were thinking. For us, we have people who go and dine and wine and actually bring nothing back to the country.
Yeah.
And so trust. When people send you to elsewhere as an ambassador, they're trusting that you're actually going to be looking out for those opportunities to bring back to your people.
Everything you do there is in the best interest.
Absolutely.
Of your country.
Absolutely. Now, me as a Amos, if somebody sent me money and I never gave them a service, I am actually compiling misery, adding misery to a country called Uganda. Because when somebody goes to TripAdvisor today, if I come to your hotel and there are bed bugs, breakfast is not on time, and I go and write a negative comment on TripAdvisor, it is worth $200,000. One negative comment. Over a period of 10 years. That's what one negative comment equates to for you as a company, or as an individual. But many negative comments about your place also affect a nation, affect the image of a nation. Those are crooks. Those are bad people. That's what happens. Trust. If someone went to the Lonely Tree Planet and said, that guy is a bad guy, he stole our money, he never did this, he never did this. You see, in all economics, if someone was satisfied about your service, you'd be able to tell between 3 and 4 people. And most used to be neighbors. And a dissatisfied one would tell between 10 and 11, all economics. But today, because of internet, if I am dissatisfied about you, I can go and write on my wall, just one wall, and close to 100,000 people will see the negative. So you can reach 1 million people depending on your influence as a person. So it's important for that. So I was saying that the first thing any human being, or the first thing that you look for is a skill that will be desirable by society. Number 2, you have to network. You have to create a character that helps you be able to be likable. People will always want, like our smaller businesses like this, people first buy you before they buy you as an individual, before they buy into your business. That's what happens in life. So skill, networks, and then money will come, and then influence comes. That's how it works. But when money goes and you have no networks, you have no skill, you just fall.
Then there's nothing you bring to the table.
That's why you see people, that's why you see a person, he's been an MP. All of a sudden, he's not an MP overnight. a guy is already selling out properties, whatever. Why? They don't probably have a right skill. They probably have not created the right networks.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. But if you find an MP who has skills, will go back as a lawyer, he becomes a lawyer, continues with his work, and progresses. So for me, the thing is that we need to, as a country, to start thinking very, very seriously. God has blessed this country more than any country that you ever come across. You see, we're sitting here, but around just Kampala itself, people wake up every morning crying poverty, and yet we have a very big shore to the world's largest tropical lake and the second most freshwater lake in the world, and we wake up with poverty. It doesn't make any sense to us. Yeah, so we have to start thinking.
It's definitely very hard for us to fit Mr. Amos's story into just 1 hour of this show. But in case you are just tuning in, or you tuned in after we introduced him, man from Lwakaka, here on Ask the CEO, that happens every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. This is powered by Young and Flourishing. Thank you so much for watching. Now, Mr. Amos, I would like to ask, you nibbled at it a little while ago. What would you say was your aha moment? What was your turnaround moment? Is it the moment you had with God when you asked for a second chance? Would you say that was what turned the fortunes around for you?
I don't think anybody has just one moment. I think we all have so many moments every time.
Yeah.
Because we continuously make mistakes, we continuously engage, we continuously... Any successful person that has actually invested in real work will tell you that they've made more mistakes than probably the opportunities that they have had. So if I look at just my life, even from the birth, when I was born, my mom was so poor, she had no nappy, nothing. She even wanted to kill me. And one day she was asleep, just like she had planned to kill me on a Friday, not because she didn't like me, but because life was extremely hard.
Yeah.
So she had planned to kill me on a Friday, and 6 guys came on a dream and just said, "Don't touch that guy, you don't know who he is." And that's how I was spared, because
She told you this?
yeah, she told me. I got to know this about 10 years ago, because she used to cry every time she saw me. So I said, "Why do you see me? And you cry every time."
Yeah.
So she told me about this and the whole story. Even my auntie also told me, because they were together. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a turning point.
Yeah.
1983
Sure. Yeah.
was also another turning point. Leaving this village, coming to Tororo was a turning point.
Yeah.
1996 was also a turning point. Leaving Tororo.
Leaving the village, did you come on a lorry?
That's a very interesting story.
At the time, there were UVS, Uganda, very serious.
Yeah, my village, about 10 kilometers from my home.
Yeah.
There was only one pickup blue that used to come to that village 3 times a week, and he never used to fill.
If it leaves you...
So I had never taken a lift in the car. We woke up at 5 a.m., walked to that place where the car was.
Yeah. It's like the stage.
And I sat in that car, blue pickup. Never used to fill. And when I started moving, I saw trees running. So I thought, I've been alive for so many years, and I'd never seen trees running. I could not remember that the car was running, because I never experienced it.
I know.
So the car was running, and the trees...
This is 10 years, right?
Running. Yeah,
at 10 years of age.
Yeah, close to 10 years. Not yet 10 at that time, but yeah. And even reaching Tororo Children's Home, we had to go to Mbale.
Yeah.
And the roads were so bad, so took a long time to reach Mbale. From Mbale, we came to Tororo.
Yeah.
We arrived at 6 p.m. And we entered this very interesting hall. And the kid came and touched the wall, and light came on. I was just a very shocked guy, man.
Like, this is magic.
Yeah. Guy went out, I touched the wall, light went off. I took off just thinking, should they discover it's me? Anyway, that's part of the life here.
All right, this is Ask the CEO, and our guest tonight is Mr. Amos Wekesa. He is the mind behind Uganda Lodges, but also Great Lakes Safaris. In case you're joining us for the very first time, this happens every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. and the show is powered by Young and Flourishing. Would like to switch guns, Mr. Amos. At Young and Flourishing, the focus is the African youth. We would like to hear your next part of the story in relation to Africa's transformation, your opinion about it, and what is the role of an African youth in this whole mix, in this whole ecosystem. I know for a fact that as you talked, I've been picking a few nuggets as you shared. And now we would like to concentrate the last part of the show towards the African youth and what their role is towards Africa's transformation. And we'll see where we go from here.
I think I like the fact that the Young and Flourishing is thinking and trying to work with the young people. And a lot of people think that the young people need money capital. You see money in the hands of a fool flees so fast. Money is extremely very shy. So just giving people money and thinking that they're going to develop, you are wasting your time. You must empower young people with knowledge, and I think that's what Young and Flourishing is trying to do, and it's a fantastic thing. And they must also share experiences. The thing is that African history, we were not lazy people. We were extremely very hardworking. A young boy was brought up in a home until the age of 9. At the age of 9, that young man was handed over to the elders who were hunting. These elders taught that young man hunting skills from the age of 9. By the age of 16 in my tribe, they were starting now to prepare you for circumcision at the age of 17. At the age of 17, you had enough skills to protect, you had enough skills to hunt and bring food for your family. And the next year, at 18, you're expected to marry. This is how it was. Now, today you find a man of 30 years has no single skill.
What happened?
Why? Because there's no group of people passing on information and knowledge to these young people. And that's, I think, what the Young and Flourishing is trying to do. Now, if we do not empower the young people, one of the things I do on my Facebook pages and Twitter and Instagram is to empower people with knowledge. I didn't want to be on social media myself. I remember my wife telling me once, Amos, you have so much knowledge. So many people would benefit from if you wrote.
Only if you just...
Absolutely. And she actually set up my first account for me. I didn't know. Even now, I don't know how to set up a Facebook page. I didn't know. Even Twitter, I've never set up. People just did. And when that page got full, another volunteer set up my public page, which has now over 98,000 people organically. So what I'm trying to say is that when you focus on empowering young people, you're focusing on actually empowering a nation. And young people, including women, in fact, they say when you empower a woman, you're empowering a nation. Why? A woman, when she gives birth and she has food, she will first think about the child before she thinks about herself. Most men will go and drink, do whatever they can do without necessarily being of use. So Young and Flourishing, what you're doing is a fantastic thing out there. I appreciate that fact. And that's why I'm sitting here. Put in my an hour.
We really, really appreciate.
I wouldn't be here
if we were to be if we were to be built. Not sure
it would be in trouble. But it's a good thing. And the other thing that the young people must know is that nothing is going to come on their table. Nothing. You have to be aggressive. I have been a very aggressive individual. Very, very aggressive. Hardworking. You know, many times 4 a.m. finds me out of my bed if I've committed to something. If it's 9 o'clock and young people say, but there's no work to do. My friend, there is work even in your house you're sitting in. Even when you have nothing, go and volunteer with a neighbor. When I came to Kampala, I was cleaning, washing plates for people, neighbors. I was going to wash clothes. I was going to do, for me to earn something that day. Even if I didn't, at least I was happy that I've applied my hands. When you apply your hands, your brains work. I would start first in my own home, my own room. I had a small room in a slum. I would clean it, make sure the bed is laid. If my small dishes are clean, why? When I go out and come back, I come back to a place that is cleaner. And it gives me hope that I sleep even when it's tough, but it's clean. And that helps your mind work. And the young people must know that the world will not sympathize with them. No one's going to use emotions to get you out of poverty. No, forget about that nonsense. Government guys can tell you this, they're lying. It won't. You have a responsibility over yourself as long as you're a youth. You have a responsibility of learning, a responsibility of working, a responsibility of empowering yourself. That is very, very key. And you're going to have a lot of competition. You see, right now we're 46 million people. by 2050, Uganda's population is going to be over 100 million people. That means there are more people competing for the opportunities available.
Yeah.
Today, there are over 600,000 kids coming out of tertiary institutions and universities,
Yeah.
qualifying for different things that are sometimes not even relevant.
Yeah.
And they're only competing for less than 20,000 jobs. Now, if you're a young guy out there and you're assuming that it's gonna be easy for you, you must wake up.
Yeah.
And we are producing over 110,000 Ugandans every single month,
Yeah.
because we're getting about 1.5 million Ugandans born every single month. They were having kids in this country producing kids.
Yeah.
So the competition for your position is going to be harder,
It's
even
only
for
going
me.
higher, yeah.
So for the young guys who are in their 10, 15, 20, you will have to work 4 times harder than I'm working for you to succeed in that group of people.
Wow. I must say, in his words, Mr. Amos says that from time to time, life will throw patches and sometimes rough ones at you. What you do with them is what will make a difference. He also says that if you are willing to go through the tides, to flip through all these things that life throws at you, then you have a shot at life. He also adds to the package that you must be very hardworking, very relentless, and also do not forget his kind of aggressiveness when you walk to the marketplace. We would like to ask Mr. Amos one more thing that he thinks about the family. I remember one of the things you talked about were the absence of mentorship in today's world. We would like to use the next few minutes before we come to the close to speak to someone out there, and you talked about your background earlier, someone out there who thinks that the nature of their family determines where and how far they are going to go in life. Some say my background is tough, was tough rather, and because of that I've not been able to stabilize or even take off. The absence of mentorship, what would you say to a parent out there who has not invested as much quality time as they're supposed to in today's world? Mr. Amos.
Yeah, I think when you have not invested time in young children, you have invested in the failure of a country. That's exactly what you've done as an individual.
Plainly put, yeah.
But also the young people out there must know. At the age of 18, after circumcision, I was being put under pressure by people in my village to get married.
Yeah.
But I saw where I came from and how hard it was for my our family. I knew that if I'm going to marry, however beautiful a woman is, for me as a man, they will never eat love. No one eats love.
Yeah.
They will eat food, they will need medication, they will need shelter. It's a total responsibility. Producing children is not something you do and you throw there and you go.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Age of 20, I was under pressure. They'll produce a child and live in the village. Produce a child and live in the village? What for? By the age of 30, I was written off. Because by the age of 29, I was written off. But I knew what I was looking out for. I knew that I needed to first empower myself with knowledge, mature. Because marriage is not for kids.
Yeah.
It's for mature people.
Yeah.
The day you wake up, you cannot just wake up and fight with your wife today mentally, and then you say, I'm walking away as a man. It's not about marriage. Maturity helps you say, I have fought with my wife. Tomorrow we find ways of discussing and getting back to where we started from. That's what marriage is all about. Yeah. But it needs maturity. I think that kids that are rushing into marriage is a wrong thing. And parents must stop pushing kids put kids under pressure. And also parents must ask. Today I find parents who tell me my 23-year-old son does not know about earning money. I say, but you have given a child pocket money from the time he went to boarding school age of 8 until the age of 23, you're giving him pocket money. How do you expect them? They've just learned one way of money, of just spending, receiving and spending.
Yeah.
So the only thing they have learned about money is spending. And you're expecting them to understand and be independent, understand how to earn. No. As a man, myself, those who follow me will see, I spend time with my children, mentoring them.
Oh, yeah.
To the extent, to the level that my son helps assist bring tourists to from the airport, take them to national, to take them to accommodations. He's worked here as a garage. He can, I mean, the level of skills that, in fact, the Jews say that if you have a child at the age of 13 without a skill, you're raising a thief.
Very dangerous.
Now, mine can drive. Okay, not official, of course. It's not. It's underage.
Yeah.
Number 2, the guy can mechanic a car. Guy can do a motor, can do boda boda if he wanted, and proper and skilled. He's one of the best riders this country has.
Yeah.
Africa actually has.
Yes, yes.
You know.
Seen him in Kenya.
Yeah, he can
seen
do
him in-
reservations. He can use websites. I mean, stuff online. He can use computers. He's just so skilled.
Yeah.
So they will have to choose. But this is something that you have to be very deliberate. Every child has a sport they do, a number of sports they do. Every child has a music instrument they play. That's what we've done as a family. Why are you empowering these kids? Even if it's music, they can. My firstborn does a bass guitar. My daughter does drums.
Yeah.
My lastborn does piano. So you have to be deliberate.
Yeah. If this story does not resonate with what happens in your day-to-day life, then I'm sure I do not know what does. But thank you so much for allowing us to share in your space, Mr. Amos. I must say it is a huge pleasure, but also a privilege for us to host you tonight.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
If you had one word, Mr. Amos, one phrase, one statement, I know it must be very hard to fix all this into maybe one phrase or something, but if you had one nugget, that's a parting shot that you would leave to the African youth who is watching us tonight, or probably will catch a link much later, what would be that nugget that you would leave them with?
I think one thing that the youth must know is the amount of potential that God has placed in just a single human being. Unfortunately, all of us, if you wake up in the morning and think, you will only apply less than 3% of the potential that you have.
Yeah.
And therefore take advantage of that mind God gave you, those hands that God gave you, those legs that God gave you, and be somebody who can actually help a country grow. Do his work. We were created for his own purpose as a people, and his purpose is implemented by us in the world. Yeah.
Amazing man over there with an amazing story. It was always going to be an uphill task to squeeze his story into just 1 hour of airtime. Now, from Luakaka, raised with other 48 boys, his story began, and today he owns a multi-million company that's changing lives around the country and even beyond the borders of Uganda, which is the Pearl of Africa. This is Us the CEO. Thank you so much for watching the show. It comes to your screens every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. here on Church of Uganda Family TV. My name is Apollo Sabiti, and this was the first episode. There will be many more where this came from. I hope to catch you next time. Thank you so much. This show is powered by Young and Flourishing. Have a good night.